Good afternoon. Welcome to our third part installment of It Takes a Viking, featuring a special series entitled Bringing Bold to You, where we are highlighting various academic programs and departments affected by SSU BOLD, a multi-part, massive construction and renovation project that's happening here on campus. Today, we are thrilled to be welcoming from the Department of Occupational Therapy on campus, Professor Twyla Fink, and from the Biology Department, Professor Ryan Fisher. Good afternoon. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mike.
Having us.
It is going to be a great conversation. Obviously, a little bit of a different aspect in terms of how BOLD is affecting both of your departments. Twyla, we'll start with you, I guess. You're down on what we've affectionately referred to as the island of South Campus these days.
That's right.
So I guess the first question I'll ask for you is, can you talk a little bit about how SSU BOLD impacts the occupational therapy program here at Salem State?
Sure, absolutely. We can't be more excited to move up to main campus and be part of the community there, both physically to have that physical presence, to feel that connection to the main campus, and of course to get into the brand new space. South Campus is very much loved, and we've lived there for a long time. And while we do have a wonderful dedicated OT lab there, there's nothing like the modernization that BOLD will give us as we've been able to design the OT lab and home health skills suites that I'm sure we'll be talking about more right from the ground up in terms of what our program needs and what future occupational therapy practitioners need to learn so that they can go out and serve our communities.
And if somebody's watching as we're talking today, can you also, I should have asked this from the jump, but if they don't know, can you provide just kind of a brief oversight on what the field of occupational therapy is, what it represents, and why it's important?
I'm so glad you asked, because a lot of people think they know what occupational therapy is, and usually they're right. And that's because we do so many broad and different things. People have worked with occupational therapy potentially in their childhoods, getting support in the school system, or perhaps they've had an older adult loved one who's received occupational therapy in the hospital or maybe at home after a fall or a stroke to help them get back to living their best lives possible. So really, we're a very broad clinical health and education field that our job is to help our clients, whether they be children or older adults or across the lifespan, live their life to the fullest in a way that is meaningful for them. So we have students coming in that are interested in working with babies, potentially in the neonatal intensive care unit. And then we have students coming in who are interested in working potentially with end of life or hospice care. And our amazing profession allows us to do all of those things from the perspective of helping the client, again, achieve what they feel is most meaningful to them in their lives.
And somewhat affectionately referred to as the activities of daily living, if you will.
There you go. That's one of our key terms. You get a gold star, Mike.
The ADLs. So that's one piece of the project. And so now OT is going from South Campus and the lab spaces they have down there to a beautifully renovated, modernized facility in the old Horace Mann building. And as we've been talking through these conversations, in our world, everybody fondly remembers Horace Mann as where they did their student teaching when they were in the education program here on campus. They may have attended Horace Mann as a student growing up in Salem. So it's still going to remain a teaching institution. It will just be a different kind of student that's in there this time with college students joining us. That's one piece of the project. SSU BOLD also features, I think the thing that I'm most excited about as a person who spent a fair amount of time in Meyer Hall in my undergraduate education. They designed it like this for whatever reason. And so now we're going to have 4 walls in Meyer Hall, and within those 4 corridors of walls, Ryan, there's going to be some new lab space for the biology department and some of our other colleagues that are going to be working in that space as well. So can you talk a little bit about, from your world, how SSU BOLD will impact biology and some of the other things that are going to be happening in Meyer Hall?
Yeah, sure, Mike. So for everyone who's listening in, Meyer Hall, the part that biology, at least my office is in biology, I think, is around 60 years old. And the labs have that sort of 60-year-old vintage to some degree. So on the big picture, Massachusetts is a highly educated state, and there are 80 or so higher educational institutions with students that are competing for spaces in all these institutions. But, from a biology standpoint, we hope they come and join us. And so for me, I think the big benefit of BOLD is to give us 21st century teaching labs that we're going to be getting 2 that will be used solely for biology, and then another one that we'll share with the geological sciences department. And it gives us the opportunity to really showcase what we're doing to our students, to prospective students. It also gives us an opportunity to work more closely with our colleagues in the geological sciences and in the chemistry department. So we're excited, and as someone who likes the aesthetics of beautiful things, to tie on what Twyla and Mike, you've said, is that North Campus will just begin to look a really cool place to come and be a student at, with a square that is Maya Hall and not the. So yeah, we're super excited, and actually, to be candid, looking forward to the construction being finished.
I think it's safe to say we all are at this point. Twyla, can we go back to you for a second, because you had kind of touched on it a moment in terms of, in the current space where students are working and learning and developing their skills. What does a day in the life of an occupational therapy student look like in terms of what are they learning for assessment, skills training, and then how will these new spaces in the Horace Mann building help them continue to grow and learn and thrive, and then build a program for an even brighter future?
That's a great question. So the way our program is designed, we learn occupational therapy skills across the lifespan, and many of our skill sets are divided by sort of which age group that we're serving. So if you're taking one of our pediatrics classes, for example, you'll learn about childhood development and what our role as occupational therapy would be in supporting students and children in meeting those milestones, and the specialized equipment that we need to really do that requires things such as ceiling mounted swings and dedicated space to do quiet assessment testing, whether it be things like visual perceptual testing or cognitive testing. So we very much have made it work in South Campus, of course, but with the new builds, the fact that we've been able to design it from the ground up with the team of engineers and planners, we've really been able to map out how we want to design the space to support that specific skill set of development for our students. So we have actually more specialized skill space in the new building than we currently have, with the addition of the home health skills lab. So this is an interdisciplinary space that we'll use alongside nursing and healthcare studies. And it is basically, imagine an apartment. There's a full bathroom, there's a bedroom, and it looks sort of like a studio apartment, but it's meant to simulate home health care settings. And that, of course, could be going in and working with a family in early intervention, all the way through working with someone who needs sort of hands-on nursing care potentially in their homes. So we're excited to be able to do that interdisciplinary learning with nursing and other academic groups at the university to really bring those skills together and to help promote so that our students learn more about what occupational therapy is and become interested in the profession.
I think that's wonderful. And as a person who was a former home health aide who kind of learned on the fly, so to speak, having professionals that are going to be entering the workforce with an idea of going into these home healthcare spaces an established framework on what's good to do, what's not to do, and then how your clients can best live their daily lives is so critically important these days. I guess I would reframe the question for Ryan in a similar way, in terms of where do you feel like there's maybe, I don't want to call it a deficiency, but you talked about the limits and the capacities of the labs a moment ago that you've been in. How does BOLD kind of position your program for growth for the future and thinking about careers in biotechnology? I know there's a ton of crossover, as Twyla just mentioned, between OT and nursing and healthcare studies and all of these spaces. How does this have some effect in the biology space?
Well, we service the nursing school quite significantly. Every nurse takes 4 courses of biology, and then Twyla's students take at least 1 course, neuroanatomy, with us. And Mike, we both alluded to the construction a moment ago. My thought is, building blocks. So currently biology has 8 teaching labs. We have, fortunately, and good for nursing, an expanding nursing program. And these 2.5 new labs that we'll get to have in a year's time will allow us to not only expand on our sort of biomedical sciences pathway, which is one of our most in-demand pathways. About 1/4 of all our students want to go down the biomedical science track, so they're going on to become PAs, doctors, all sorts of healthcare technicians. We have a small biotech pathway that it's always been small for a variety of reasons, but there is certainly lots of scope for that to grow, given that we're in a world biotech hub here in Greater Boston. And going back to my building block analogy, by having these additional spaces open to us, we can open up other spaces in the existing Maya Hall that will help not only biology students, but nursing students, indirectly occupational therapy students, to the degree that possibly in the near future, we will have, quite near to my office, research labs for biology students that faculty and students can do research in. And I mentioned when you first asked me my thoughts, competition for students is huge. And most STEM undergrad students want to have undergraduate opportunities to conduct research, authentic research. But currently we don't really have any research labs. They're all teaching labs. So Project BOLD, as it is, provides a huge amount for us, this 6-lab new wing, but it's also helping us be creative and innovative and opening up other spaces that can further enhance the biology program.
Can you expand on that a little bit, just in case somebody who's watching that doesn't know kind of where the line of delineation is drawn between what's a research lab and what's a teaching lab? What does that mean between the two?
So a teaching lab is taught in every day of the week, Monday through Friday. It's set up with bench structures and bench instrumentation that is in such frequent use that there isn't an opportunity for you to conduct a semester-long research project with a student. A research lab, the only types of education that are conducted within it are research projects. So you may have a lab that has, say 8 research stations, and through the course of a semester, a year, and possibly even longer, individual students will occupy a part of the lab with a certain professor doing particular research work. And one example is I have 2 colleagues who work with seaweed, one of whom is an expert at the taxonomy of red seaweed, and having access to a lab where they can conduct, daily, without sort of adding or taking up space that is used for teaching, where they can do DNA work, that would really propel what we do and be, fantastic for our students and allow us to draw in other students to keep the program going.
And so talking through that lens for a moment of as a prospective attraction for new students for both of your programs. Obviously, both STEM-based fields. But Twyla, can you talk a little bit about how this kind of positions your program in comparison to maybe others in the area as well, in terms of not only just an attraction, but, obviously occupational therapy has been around for a little bit, and you're going to have the shiny new thing that maybe other programs in the area won't have. So how does this help position OT to be a little bit more competitive in the space as well in terms of attracting new students?
Yes, of course. It really does. With when students are looking at programs, we have a concentrated area of occupational therapy programs in New England. And when students are looking at what's going to fit for their life and their graduate studies, certainly they come and tour the facilities. So I think it's going to be a slam dunk, of course, to have, like you said, the shiny new thing, brand new building, and really for them to see how much we are plugged in with the campus and the other healthcare fields that we're working with, so we can really offer them that preparing for the real world experiences in terms of interdisciplinary connections and simulated environments. We're also just really excited from a more Salem State University community perspective to have a bigger visual presence on campus for our undergraduate students. A lot of, I think, our undergrad programs would benefit from sort of seeing us and hearing more about us. And I think that's going to naturally happen when we're have the brand new space and are there. So.
What is, and you've both kind of touched on this to an extent in terms of the regional impact that your program has. Do you currently have any kind of either community professional partners that are taking your students for placements, that are taking your students for internships? And if you want to give any of them a shout out, who might those folks be?
I'll jump in, as I could see Twyla was perhaps politely giving me the opportunity. Well, we were talking about biotech a moment ago. There are two fantastic biotech companies on the North Shore, Cell Signaling, New England Biolabs, where our students very recently have had internships. And Mike, just seeing your name and the year that you graduated, we have a strong alumni presence in both those companies. And then on a much bigger picture, in terms of size of companies, Thermo Fisher Scientific, multinational company, has been very generous in helping us find placements. I'll pitch it back to Twyla.
Thanks. So as part of becoming an occupational therapist, our students need to complete a certain number of what we call fieldwork hours. And during their coursework with us, they complete what is sort of called within occupational therapy education, their level 1 placements, which are meant to be really observation based, where they go out and observe OT practitioners doing the job in different practice areas, be it mental health, pediatrics, or physical rehabilitation. And then at the end of the program, to sit for the national boards to get your license to practice as an occupational therapist, every student must complete at least 2 12-week placements of full-time fieldwork. So tying back to your question of are we plugged in to the area, very, very much so. All of our students go out to greater Boston area clinics, anywhere there's an OT that practices. We have outreach to many different places to see if they can take our students. We have done some really cool programming lately. So I will give a shout out to Spalding North Shore, their outpatient adaptive sports programs. They've been running adaptive sports programs at South Campus in our gym to really bring in the programming, and the students have been able to volunteer with things like sled hockey or adapted basketball. So that's been really a fun and cool project for the students to be able to participate in. Myself, I've been active with the Salem Council on Aging as well, with running community-based health education programs for older adults living in the community. So our students actually, we go to the community center in Salem, and our students run groups about things like fall prevention, or, you know, one topic that was very much sought after was like tech scams and how to help our older adults avoid tech scams. So teaching and leading with things like that. So we're very much plugged into the broad surrounding communities, and we really work closely with our fieldwork educators to make sure that our students are able to meet their needs.
And there's a few comments that have come in that I'll share from a colleague, Marion Frost from our School of Nursing, who says, I was in those vintage labs during my undergraduate years at Salem State, very excited for the new lab spaces. And she adds, I agree with you, Ryan. Research labs are important and will make Salem State competitive with other colleges and universities. My daughter was afforded this experience in both her undergraduate and graduate studies, and it has changed the trajectory of her career. And Twyla, she is very excited to collaborate with occupational therapy in the new sim spaces as well. So Dr. Frost, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure to hear from you. She was with our conversations last week as well, so I certainly appreciate you joining us again today. I think one of the things, you know, I would be doing myself a disservice as the alumni office guy if I didn't say in some capacity, how can alumni and friends of Salem State, as your programs transition into this next stage of their evolution, how can alumni and friends of Salem State support occupational therapy? How can they help biology? What can they do? What are you looking for? Is it connections? Is it donations? What is most important to you?
I'll go first this time, Ryan. Yeah. Yes, my answer to that is yes, all of the above. We certainly love to stay connected with our alumni, and that can happen very naturally for us because of the fieldwork requirements. So the students know occupational therapy is very much sort of a pay it forward profession. We all need to do these clinical observations and clinical placements to become practitioners. So once we are practitioners, we like to give back, right? So our alumni do take a lot of our students for their learning experiences, and we're always looking to grow that. Our alum are doing amazing things. They're entrepreneurs. They're, you know, forging ahead in new spaces. We have alums working in driver rehabilitation on the North Shore. We have alums working in pelvic health, women's health on the North Shore. So maintaining those connections with these new practice areas that we might not have connections in is very important for us, so our students can really see what they can go on and do with degree in occupational therapy. So that's huge for us. And then BOLD, I think, gives an opportunity for alums, if they're in a position where they can donate, to help us really fill our beautiful new lab with all of the fun new toys that we certainly need to be teaching to our students.
Yeah, thanks, Twyla. I certainly echo and agree with everything you've said. Many of us in biology, and I'm sure it's the same in OT, have alumni that come and visit our students in their classes. And I always say to our alumni, you know, if an alumnus or an alumna were to become a millionaire, then sure, if you want to give us some money, that would help. But I think what I look for and our students look for that is far easier to provide if you are an alum is to come and chat to them, be a mentor, a sort of big brother, big sister mentor that will help transition once they graduate into the workplace. And you know, we've had our students, as I mentioned, some North Shore biotech companies really be very helpful to our students and allowing them to realize that, you know, there are a couple of big schools in Cambridge whose names always escape me. One of them is an acronym, but we're just as competitive. MIT, that was not to be silly, but hey, it's summer. Our students are just as good and can do anything they wish to do. And for me, having our alumni come in and, you know, just reassure them and help them make that jump after graduation into the workforce. And then if the alumni would like to donate, and if there are any alumni who watch this, perhaps are watching now, you know, you don't have to give us $100,000. A nice microscope costs $1,000. And if 10 of you come together and each decide, all right, I'll forego a month's worth of wine, let's buy the biology department one nice microscope. And it all certainly helps.
So I think then as professors yourselves and constructors of curriculum, the capstone question that I'll ask you both then, we've talked about a lot of things today. And the other thing I'll say before I ask this question is, if there's anybody watching that's interested in connecting with current students, and perhaps you don't know Professor Fisher or Professor Fink, send us an email, alumni@salemstate.edu. We'll be happy to get you in touch. You've both been here for a little bit now, so I'd be hard-pressed to imagine there are a lot of folks in these programs that don't know who you are. However, if you're a friend of the institution and you haven't had the pleasure of meeting either of these individuals, we'd be happy to make that connection for you. Anyway, so again, the capstone question, we've talked about a lot of things in our conversation today. What is the biggest piece of the project that gets you the most excited? What are you looking forward to more than anything else with respect to Project BOLD and its impact in your programs?
Well, Twyla, if I may, I'll jump in. For me, surprisingly, it's not just for biology. It's for really enhancing the North Campus experience for all our students. Having colleagues like Twyla and her students a 2-minute walk away. Twyla, I have no idea where your office is on South Campus.
That's okay, neither do I.
Getting Maya Hall to be a square that we can walk around, and bringing people together across the different disciplines, students and faculty, and alumni. I think we could all, well, I'll speak for myself in biology, we could do a lot more to encourage our alumni to come back and see the big spaces. So for me, it's community above biology on North Campus.
Yeah, and I would echo that. What I professionally and personally get most excited about is the location change to be, right now we do feel like we're on a satellite campus and it's hard for potentially people to find us. And when we do open houses, if we want to tour our classrooms or have faculty sort of bump into students, it's very hard to do because we're just not physically in the same spaces. So to be able just to walk around the quad, to go to the library, to come see the new biology labs would be amazing, So that I think is going to be hard to really fully understand what that's going to do for our program, I think, until we're there. And then the other thing I would add is, we're only one of 2 public state occupational therapy programs. Our other public OT programs, Worcester State, so geographically different area of the state. And we really offer a great gateway to occupational therapy that is very important for our community, and just having that to be more centralized again within our own campus, I think will really help us drive and promote the program.
And we were joking when we first started, before we started the live today, that you're all back on Wednesday to start your semesters. Our students are back next week, and so recognizing this is an extraordinarily busy time of year for anybody in higher education, but our esteemed academic colleagues, especially as they prepare their new semesters. I just want to thank you both for spending a little time with us during your lunch break today to help inform our community about SSU BOLD, its impact on your program, how your program serves the region, and how you're both serving our students. We truly appreciate it. We thank you, thank you, thank you. If you are interested in learning more about Project BOLD, as we talked about with Luigi Marconi last week, we are inside of a year to completion, so a very exciting time of year to be on campus. Please stay in touch. Come back and see us for our ribbon cutting that will likely be this time a year or so from now, next fall. But you can keep in touch with all the updates for the project by visiting salemstate.edu/SSU-BOLD. And as always, you can certainly send messages with questions, comments, well wishes, interesting opportunities for connection with our students to alumni at salemstate.edu. But again, Twyla, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today. We wish you an absolutely fabulous semester ahead for the fall. And we can't wait to see these shiny new labs and learning spaces for our incredible students to come over the next year. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for watching. And as more subject matter continues to unroll throughout the semester, we will certainly be back for some more. Until then, thanks for watching.